Hey everybody, we're going to go live soon with the topic. Please feel free to participate in the chat room and please also feel sorry, I was distracted. I was distracted, sorry. Anyway, so please like the video, share the video. Feel free to participate in the chat room while we wait for everybody to get in. Again, please like the live stream, please. Okay, are we ready to start? Let's go to face. How about that? Let's go to face. Let's go to face. Let's do the demon face. All right. And 3 and 2 and 1 and big face. And thank you so much for coming, everybody. My name is Jan Erickson, and this is my YouTube channel called Mindful Monad, in which I talk about Hyperianism and inner star actualization. Now, the thing we do is we do mostly live streams, and then we sort of do reactionary content about stuff. So on Wednesdays, it is Worldview Wednesdays, in which we take a look at more political or social aspects or ethical aspects of humanity. So, we are still going to wait just a little bit for other people to get into the room. So while we do that, let's participate in the chat room, and I shall say hello and ask questions or answer questions. So please ask me any questions you would like, and let's see if I can answer them for you. So right off the bat, I see Susan and I see Cassie. Thank you so much for coming and participating as moderators. The moderators in the house keep our chat friendly, healthy, and safe, and progressive. So today we are going to discuss, we're going to do a little bit of an update on Andrew Tate. We are also going to discuss, hold on, I'm drawing a mind blank. We are going to talk about what happened to Keffals, and we are also going to discuss what's going on with Marjorie Taylor Greene and her bill to stop trans care, which is really interesting to me, considering that I am non-binary trans. So anyways, I see Light Remus. Hello. I see Hope. Good to see you. I see Velvet Tears. Velvet Tears, I'm very confused as to what's going on. Please let me know, because the name Velvet Tears has only been a part of my channel for a very limited small amount of time. So I have no idea what's going on. Like, are you the grandma or granddaughter? I have no idea, because I thought Velvet Tears was a 13-year-old girl, so please let us know. I see Perry. I see Cassidy. Good to see you. And I don't really have any snacks. Of course, you all know me. I have my beers. So Velvet here says, I'm the grandma of Nevea. I have to say, Nevea has not been a part of my channel very long enough, so, you know, apologies. I'm sorry for your loss, but, yeah, not really much a part of, the regular part of this, but that's okay. Anyways, I got my light cores here. Yeah, interesting. Anyways, thank you for the information, Hope. Good to see you. Rebecca, good to see you. Paul Cherry. We're just gonna wait a couple more minutes for everybody to get in, and then we shall start our subject. Okay, so Nevaeh just subbed to your channel, but she watched for a bit though. Yeah, cool. I'm really sorry about your loss. You know, they were not a part of my channel for very long, but I'm sure, their family members will be the ones to come forth and, represent them appropriately. Especially in private. Hey Cynthia, good to see you. Is everybody ready for the topic? We got several topics tonight. Like I said, we're going to do an update on Andrew Tate. We're going to talk about what's going on with Keffals, and then we're going to talk about what Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing with her anti-trans care bill. So again, hello, my name is Jan Erickson, and this is my channel on Hyperianism and self-actualization. We do live streams 3 days a week. Monday, we talk more about religion and philosophical ideals. On Wednesday, we have Worldview Wednesdays, in which we talk about more like social issues and political issues and things like that. And then Fridays, we have more fun. Okay. What do you think? Should we wait a little bit more, or should we get started? What do you think? Let's wait. Just a little bit more. Let's wait just a little bit more. Cassie, thank you for coming. Cassie's like, let's get started. No, okay. Here. Okay. So the thing is that I have covered Andrew Tate like already through like 3 full separate live streams. So if you want to see my previous coverage on Andrew Tate, go ahead and check that out. But I just want to do a follow-up today specifically because Andrew Tate is canceled, literally, like canceled, like full on, straight on. Andrew Tate is done, my friends. And Andrew Tate has been blocked from Twitter, Andrew Tate has been blocked from YouTube, and I believe Andrew Tate has also been blocked from TikTok. And although it is voluntarily done so, Andrew Tate has also taken down their website. Here's the thing. Andrew Tate is like the archetype of misogynistic butthole. Even though Andrew Tate is bowing down a little bit, Andrew Tate is also not the first of this kind. So even though Andrew Tate is ridiculous, the most misogynistic person in the world, someone's gonna take his place. So I'm interested to see who the next Andrew Tate is. So anyways. Let's take a look at Andrew Tate's final words.
But I just want the world to know in my final statement that if you're a supporter of mine, and I know most of you are, please explain the truth in a respectful manner. Telling these hate-filled people that they're
I'm speechless right off the bat because, like, first of all, we're seeing Andrew Tate looking a little bit solemn and, like, having this, like, light piano music. And it's like, out of all that we've seen Andrew Tate say, like, what the fuck is he doing right now?
wrong and calling them.
Oh my god. Can I just, like, refresh this? Because this is ridiculous.
But I just want the world to know in my final statement that if you're a supporter of mine, and I know most of you are.
Final statement. Is this the final statement of Andrew Tate? Is this the final statement of Andrew Tate? Or is this just the beginning? Because frankly, I think somebody else is going to take Andrew's place as the top G, as like the top misogynist.
Please explain the truth in a respectful manner.
What is the truth? What is the truth that Andrew Tate speaks, and why should it be deserving of a respectful manner? I'll tell you what. Everything that we've observed of Andrew Tate so far has been completely misogynistic. It's been completely against all reason, as we know. Like I said, go to my previous live streams to see our previous reviews of Andrew Tate. We've already covered this. Like, I am literally a self-proclaimed Andrew Tate expert. Right now, he realizes he's fucking up. And it's too late, honeys. It's too late.
Telling these hate-filled people that they're wrong and calling them names won't help. These people are not happy people, because happy people don't act that way. Tell them the truth.
No, honey. Happy people don't act like misogynists.
Show them that the content is out of context. Show them the long format content. Say all the ways I've
Nothing is out of context. You really are a misogynist.
helped you. And I really believe by being a genuinely professional, logical, positive person, you guys can change public consciousness for me. And time.
Change public consciousness in order to approve the bullshit that he's saying. Hey, MC Heavyset, good to see you. Zing Jesus, good to see you. Paul Cherry, Elise, good to see you. Cynthia, yes. All of you, good to see you. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate that. So let's continue with Andrew Tate.
Time is a beautiful thing. It's amazing how things change with time. And in the meantime, I'm going to enjoy my fantastic life, which I've managed to build with all of the tenacity and mental strength that I try and teach my fans. You know how to reach me. And I'll finish with a quote from my late father. My unmatched perspicacity.
No, his late father. Are you kidding? He's going to finish with a quote from his father. Okay, let me tell you something about Andrew Tate and his father. His father was an absolute asshole and totally convinced Andrew Tate to shave his head. You want to think I'm lying? You want to think I'm making this up? You want to think this is silly? Look it up. I'm convincing you. Andrew Tate's father shamed him into shaving his head. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Coupled with sheer indefatigability makes me a feared opponent in any realm of human endeavor. But I just want the world to know in my final statement that if you're a supporter of mine, and I know
Oh, I can't stand it. I can't stand the piano music! Anyways, more on Andrew Tate. And at this point, we're going to take a look at the end of Andrew Tate through the perspective of Hassan Piker. Hassan Piker is somebody that I like to watch. Hassan Piker is not necessarily Hyperian, but I do feel that Hassan Piker does have like very rational points of view. So,
Andrew Tate has gotten clapped on YouTube. He's gotten clapped on TikTok. TikTok has advised that they're also looking to remove the duplicate videos of Tate. The move follows in the footsteps of Instagram, Facebook also banning him from their platform. And Andrew Tate is off. He's off TikTok as of now. Here it is. Permanently.
Yeah, so finally, Andrew Tate has been banned from most platforms. And I have to say that a lot of it was due to teachers, public school teachers coming forth and saying like, hey, my male students are being affected by Andrew Tate and his rhetoric, and it's not going well. So there's been a lot of coming forth of, let's see, particularly junior high school grade teachers that are like, students of mine are really accepting this and treating it as if it's gold. And it's sad because young women are being treated poorly because of this. So finally, Andrew Tate is being banned. He's not allowed to be on a multitude of platforms.
Banned from TikTok for breaking content rules. Controversial content creator and former kickboxer Andrew Tate has been permanently banned off TikTok. In a statement to the Washington Post, TikTok said Andrew Tate's account was removed for breaking rules on content that attacks, threatens, incites violence against, or otherwise dehumanizes an individual or group. I think a lot of people forget that women are also a part of that. Now, knowing what...
Yeah. Most of Andrew Tate's content is against women. It's really disgusting, honestly.
What I know about the way that, internet content works, knowing what I know about how, like, reactionary forces operate, I'll just say this. The next wave in this is to, 1, get involved in the debate sphere and talk about free speech. 2, turn around and weaponize the same platforms like arbitrary guidelines against people that violate it on the other side. They're going.
Okay, I want to make it very clear. There's this whole debate about free speech, especially with political issues and things like that. As a Hyperian, I fully and foremost recognize that the social media platforms I use are private companies. They're private companies. This is not the government. When you argue free speech, you're not arguing for like a political or government stance. Like, you are literally complaining about social media, which is private companies. You have no standing. You have no leg. You have nothing, my child. Nothing. It is a private company. It's social media. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all of that are private companies. You have no free speech standing there because it's not a government issue. They can ban you just because they don't like you. The end. So when enough people complain about somebody being misogynistic and full of shit, yeah, you're gonna get you're gonna be gone, because the private companies that originally endorsed this are like, oh geez, our users don't actually like this, we gotta get rid of them. Anyways, hello Laura, hello Claudia, hello Renaissance Fairy, good to see you, hello Dahlia, good to see you. Lisa, good to see you.
Going to do the what about violence against men narrative. Why do I know this? Because I lived through 2016 and 2015 as an online content creator who was at the Young Turks, who was on the side that you are all on now. I've been on this side for a very long time. I've seen this dance. I've seen this song and dance play out many times over, and that is where we're going to go. It's a comfortable team to play in, and that's precisely why they're going to do that. This was my greatest call, like I said on my alt account. My greatest lock of the decade was calling a return to 2015 era politics once Biden got into office and things returned to normal. Reliving Gamergate era politics, we're in the misogyny stage. Next stage is the alt-light video game essays defending free speech. And the final stage is Nazis clawing back into public consciousness through the right-wing aligned social media algos on TikTok. And that is precisely what's going to happen. They're going to do that. They've done it before. And they will try to do it once again. They'll turn around and they'll look at all the femcells on TikTok and be like, look at all these misinterest femcells who are saying like kill all men, fuck all men, blah, 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 blah. And ultimately there is a distinction between the two. Misinjury does not accompany structural violence in the same way that misogyny does, but obviously it doesn't fucking matter. A quick way to describe it is this, okay? Bigotry, discrimination, and hateful speech or hateful misconduct is simply being mean if it doesn't accompany the historical reference points and contemporary examples of structural violence.
Did we get that, kids? Did we get that? Did we get that understanding in that explanation? There's a huge difference between simply being unpleasant and being insulting and just simply being a bigot, and actively supporting and promoting a rhetoric that legitimately suppresses people and harms people and hurts people. Does that make sense? There's a big difference between being simply insulting and then actually saying things and supporting things that hurt people when you express the verbal rhetoric. Does that make sense?
The reason why misogyny is bad is not necessarily because like, oh, you're, shitting on women. The reason why misogyny is bad is because society has structurally aligned to oppress women, at least historically, and contemporary remnants of that historical association, that historical oppression, still exists in society to this day. The same energy goes for, homophobia and bigotry of other sorts, and every single time you turn around and like shit on fucking femcells, which I do regularly, right? Femcells, rad fems, they're really fucking cringe. They're really fucking annoying.
Yeah, so like the thing Hassan is talking about right now is there are women out there who are like, they're anti-feminist. There are anti-feminist women. There are transphobic trans people. Straight up. There are trans people out there who are transgender and transphobic. They're very fucking mean and peculiar about other trans people. There are very fucking mean women out there who are feminists, but they're against a lot of like other women. They're against trans women. Me and Susan Mitchell had a whole fucking live stream on the Hyperion source about TERFs. TERFs. TERF. TERFs. TERFs, which are trans exclusionary radical feminists. These are feminists that believe that all trans women are simply men taking advantage of feminine qualities and infiltrating safe women's spaces, which is totally absolutely 100% messed up. So, Susan, if you have the link to that particular live stream, would you mind dropping it in the chat? Thank you, please.
Right? They go crazy. They pop off. Look at any of my tweets where I encounter a group of stans, and you will see, like, I had the audacity to reply to Megan Thee Stallion, and immediately there's like 10,000 QRTs of people being like, you're a misogynist, you should kill yourself immediately, please kill yourself, you're a fucking misogynist, blah, blah, blah. Those people are incredibly annoying. Having said that,
Thanks, Susan. Yeah, so check out the link Susan dropped. It's me and Susan's discussion on trans exclusionary radical feminists.
however, or you're 40, which is the worst one. It's worse than saying kill yourself. Those people are just like fucking toxic. Those people are cringe. Those people are annoying. But ultimately, they're not relevant in the grand scheme of things. They have no power. And more importantly than their own personal lack of power, there is nothing. There's no representation of that in our structures. Misogyny versus misandry is like telling your boss you're fired versus your boss telling you you're fired. Both are not nice, but one obviously has power and the other doesn't. Exactly.
Yep.
Misogyny versus...
Yes, honestly. Misogyny versus misandry. Misandry being the opposite of misogyny. But trying to claim that is also equally a problem. I mean, like, one is not like the other. Misogyny does ultimately have more power in this whole house. Sorry, it does. It just does. And it boils down to the weirdness of, like, do straight men, like, genuinely feel jealous of pain? Do they genuinely feel jealous that others have strife? It's kind of an odd question, right? It's like, why does the status quo feel so threatened when they have it all?
versus misandry is like homophobia versus heterophobia.
Yes, heterophobia. Heterophobia is just as much as homophobia. No, it isn't. No, it isn't, honey. No, it isn't.
That's it. It's like straight pride. Why no straight pride parade? That's what the energy is. Same with like anti-white racism versus anti-black racism. So you can try to reduce it and strip it of all of its context and all of its nuance as much as you want. But ultimately, that is the reality, which is why, regardless of my me being banned for my usage of the C word and push coming out and basically saying that I'm not white enough to be able to say it, most people that saw that clowned on it and laughed about it, including like actually racist people. Like even Republicans understand, even conservatives understand that like the C word is not the same as the N word, right? Hate against anyone.
Yeah, cracker is not the same as the N-word. Sorry. So Dahlia Oddream says, when people go to petty insults and threats, it shows so much about them than it does about the person they are talking about. Correct. Look, I'm gonna be very clear that I recognize that a lot of us Hyperians right now have been under a lot of pressure when it comes to people insulting us very childishly, and I want to just reiterate and repeat and just support y'all in that insults and negative speech about people like that does not take any creativity. It's really not that creative. The reason it's not that creative is because it's literally just a biased observation of people you don't like. It's a biased observation of people you don't like. It's a description of your bias about the people you don't like. That's what insulting language is. That's why I don't think it's very creative. And Hyperians lately have been under a lot of pressure with that. And I have to tell you, don't give in to it. It's not worth it. Let them be punks. Let them be punks. Let them do it. Let whoever it is that's trying to insult you and pressure you and pick at you and poke at you and pick, just let them do it. Fine. Like, it takes no creativity to simply describe what you hate, to simply describe what annoys you in such a graphic, insulting manner. No creativity whatsoever. None. No innovation, no creativity, no evolution, no nothing, just like dumbassery. Remember that. Remember!
One is bad, one isn't as bad as the other, but trivializing hate against men is still kind of fucked. Dude, I'm a man. My brother in Christ. I get the anti-men hatred as well. It is a laughable notion to sit here and act like it's the fucking same.
So here's why I love Hassan Piker. I love Hassan Piker because Hassan Piker is like a cis man and straight up is like totally fully aware of the position he's at and recognizes that as like a man, he doesn't receive the same sort of flack as women does.
That's crazy. And I've said this before, right? The reason why the N-word is such a powerful word is because it's something different than just a hurtful word. It is a reinforcement of the pre-existing and still existing systematic oppression that black people face. You get it? That's the main difference. Because without chattel slavery, without the history of brutal colonial occupation, without the history of current and subjugation of black communities and black people in general that have been systematically underfunded, systematically cast aside, that have been ruined by the criminal justice system and a lack of adequate funding, the N-word would just be a mean word. It would be the exact same thing as the word cracker. The delicious saltine treat is what I'm saying. And I think most...
Cracker is in the delicious treat, okay? It's a delicious treat, unlike Ritz, okay?
Most people do understand that, but they try to make an argument. They try to desperately craft a narrative and seek oppression and seek victimhood where no such oppression or victimhood actually exists in an effort to just like feel kind of better about yourself, I guess, or feel kind of cool, like you want to get in on it. Misogyny is a hateful ideology that is not tolerated on TikTok is a laughable statement, by the way. We've been removing violative videos and accounts for weeks, and we welcome the news that other platforms are also taking action against this individual. The Andrew Tate hashtag is still visible on TikTok at the time of writing, but presumably it will be shadow banned, similar to how other controversial or dangerous hashtags have been wiped. The problem is, it's laughable. Like, everyone that has ever been on TikTok, even for longer than a fucking second and a half, knows that that is a laughable concept. Like, the idea that misogyny and hateful misconduct is not allowed on the platform is ridiculous. Before this happened...
You know, it's true. As much as I'd like to celebrate Andrew Tate being limited in some way, the sort of ideology and rhetoric that Andrew Tate spreads is something that's not going to disappear. It's going to manifest in somebody else. We will eventually see the next Andrew Tate, and I'm going to keep my eye out for it, for the next Andrew Tate, quote unquote. Misogyny and hate speech is something that is allowed on social media platforms. It's not a perfect world. As I said before, social media platforms are private. That doesn't mean they're perfect. So unfortunately, there's a lot of anti-interstar actualization people out there. Andrew Tate being limited in social media platforms is good, but it's not the end of this tyranny. We're gonna see another Andrew Tate soon, unfortunately.
And of course, he was banned off of Facebook as well, and that kind of like started the sequence of bans. I believe he's now banned off of YouTube as well. He has also ended his Hustlers University multi-level marketing scheme. Now, am I going to take credit for all?
See, remember in the previous live stream we covered Hassan actually directly trying to reason with Andrew Tate and totally owning his ass. So that was fucking delicious. But Andrew Tate is actually being limited in his exposure to the world. I don't think that's exactly due to Hassan's direct debate with him. However, I think it was very spicy and lovely and juicy.
All of this, am I going to take credit for like successfully fucking clapping Andrew Tate's ass cheeks in front of hundreds of thousands of people and then millions of other people on multiple platforms that ended up causing the demise, or at the very least like started the demise being caused? Yeah, I'm probably going to, you know, I'll just say it, you know. If you want to see like what started this sequence of L's that my man started taking on July 21st, you can clearly see in this video, I made Andrew Tate run away in a debate, which is now sitting at 1.6 million views. That definitely did play a role. I know a lot of you are still conflicted, saying, well, that was platforming. It's not platforming. He already had the platform. He already had a much larger platform outside of Twitch, but he also certainly was not on my platform. He was on Twitch on someone else's Twitch account. And
yeah, okay, so there's the argument. It's like, okay, if there's somebody that's like morally like not good and they're just like really bad, it's like, is it platforming? Like, if I personally talk about Andrew Tate on my YouTube channel, is that platforming? Personally, I don't think so, just because of the kind of reach that Andrew Tate has at this point. If I happen to appear on one of Andrew Tate's like live streams or channels, Andrew Tate would be platforming me. So the idea of platforming is a very interesting topic that I would like to dive into more specifically at some point.
And I was asked to join. So Andrew Tate, you know, shouts out, pour one out. Pour one out for the boy. Don, can you please at least mention that you are humble and privileged, because you are kind of boasting now and that's not allowed on Twitch? I mean, part of the reason why I was able to successfully take him down was exclusively because I am so privileged. I recognize those privileges. I use it to my advantage. I use it to your advantage as well, as best as I can try. I look a certain way. I sound a certain way. It's hard to make the "you're actually a soy boy cuck" narrative stick when I'm 6'4", hairy as fuck, and, you know, a big dude overall. I myself do not personally abide by such rigid gender norms. I think that those are silly, right? Someone said, "You look gay, though." Yeah, that's not what your mom said, though. Last night. Sorry to report this, but I'm your stepfather now. But yeah, that juxtaposition is what made me more successful than other people that also went after him, I think, in my opinion. Also, if you're a tater tot and you say, "I look gay," that's kind of funny. My man is the most European dressed motherfucker on the planet. He is so queer coded. The only thing that allows him to beat the otter allegations is his bald head, but not really. I mean, he just dresses in the most European / queer coded way possible. Are you kidding me?
It's true. It's true. Andrew Tate, like, he sits there in all of his presentations completely shirtless, showing full titties, full man titties, and he's smoking a cigar, and he's like trying to be as manly as fuck. And at some point he even had like some like maid looking lady like rubbing his shoulders and giving him a massage and everything. Like, he really is like the most like European like gay looking dude. Mark, thank you so much for coming. Mark, you're such a treat. Thank you so much. Hey, Mark, I don't want to pressure you, but if you ever want to volunteer to be a moderator in my live stream, please let me know. I don't want to pressure you. But let me know. I'll give you the wrench. Yeah. Anyways, moving on.
My man literally wears little slippies. Like, he wears skin tight fucking velour pants and shit. What the fuck do you mean? Dude, you're gay. So, yeah, including sparkling water, including like riding so hard for sparkling water, or talking about how you are much better at like sexting men than the sex workers under your employ. You know, if you're going to talk about like being sus or whatever, like Andrew Tate quite literally was like, "I can sext dudes way better than women can." Like, what do you mean? He straight up admits it. Like, he loved making dudes come. That was his passion until, you know, he farmed a bunch of 12-year-olds out of their mother's credit card money for his Hustlers University multi-level marketing scheme. I guess my final words on it is big L, major L for Andrew, major L for the platforms in general, but most importantly, a major L for 12-year-old boys all around the United States of America will now be rudderless. They will be looking for the other next misogynistic Hydra head that will pop up. Olivia Little of Media Matters says, new Andrew Tate videos are widely circulating on TikTok because of fan accounts despite the platform's promised ban. And it looks like TikTok is doing...
That's what I mean. Okay, so that's what I mean. Hassan hit it right on the nail right on the head. The next Hydra misogynistic head will eventually sprout forth. So that's what I mean. Andrew Tate may be falling out, but we'll see the next Andrew Tate soon. It's like a Hydra, you know, the Hydra being the beast that has several heads, and if you cut one, then more will appear. Yeah. Welcome, Mark. Sorry, I'm not trying to put you on spot. I just I think you're a lovely individual and I trust you with you know, being a part of the chat room. And if somebody is obviously being a brat, if somebody is obviously being a butt, if somebody is being a little bumhole, then I trust you to help us out. So thank you, Mark. Thank you. Thank you. Cassie says Tate is gone. Even if Tate is gone, the info is already out there. Yes, that's the thing. Is Andrew Tate is the total manifestation and archetype of misogyny, and it's still there. It's gonna come in another form. Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate that. Right, back to Hassan. Where is Hassan? Hassan, where are you? Thank you.
Little to stop the spread of his content. Just searching Andrew Tate brings up a massive list of fan accounts, many of which are quickly archiving their old videos in an attempt to ban evade. There it is. TikTok has consistently fumbled moderating fan accounts that upload duplicated content of banned influencers. This is exactly how InfoWars and Alex Jones content continues to go viral on the platform. It's not the influencers uploading it, but fans. Yeah. Us women haters are oppressed. All of our public speakers get silenced. Yeah. Not really. Misogyny isn't one of those things that you know, people often go after you for, unless you're literally like Rouge V, you know what I mean? Who was another PUA guy before Andrew Tate. Most of these platforms allow misogyny to continue. Of course they do. It's very hard to moderate content like this. Are you making jokes or are you being serious? I make jokes like that all the fucking time sarcastically. Does that mean that, you know, I'm going to get banned?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to moderate this sort of shit.
No, it's true. It is difficult to moderate things because you can't explicitly tell people that they can't say certain sentences because it's really based on the full package. Like with Hassan Piker. I love Hassan Piker, but there is a lot of moments where I watch Hassan and he is literally being sarcastic and cynic to the max, so much, but I am personally somebody who appreciates that kind of humor, so I love that, but some people might not. So is it you know, should people be censored into saying only specific sentences? No, I don't think so. But when somebody is clearly pushing a certain ideologies, when somebody is clearly being serious about something that is promoting a rhetoric that says other people should be looked down upon, yeah, that should be limited. Totally, 100%.
It's very, very, very difficult to moderate this sort of stuff. Anyone with a fucking brain cell understands that reality. However, Andrew Tate didn't do the Jordan Peterson thing of constantly trying to carve out an exit strategy for himself. He never hid his perspective. He openly was propagandizing violence against women on very clear terms. And if you do that so consistently, yeah, you are going to get clapped for fucking misogyny. It's like revealing your power level, you know? Nazis all over the internet know that you're never supposed to reveal your power level because
Can we just take a moment, all of us, gather round, children, gather closely. Gather closely, children. Can we just gather round and realize and recognize the sincerity in this specific idea that Nazis cannot just come out and say what it is they really want.
once someone knows you're a fucking Nazi, it's a wrap. They're not going to take you seriously.
Once somebody knows you're a Nazi, they're not going to take you seriously, so obviously you have no other choice but to speak very codedly.
Are going to start banning you. You're going to get banned from the Hasanabi broadcast and not be able to subscribe at the top of the hour. We're a 60-second ad break.
Yeah, if you're a Nazi, you're not going to be able to be subscribed to Mindful Monad. You're going to be instantly banned. Sorry, no choice, gone.
Break comes, and you're going to be stuck there watching the ad instead of not watching the ad and enjoying an uninterrupted broadcast experience.
You're going to be watching my titties.
I recognize the lack of power that we kind of have towards structural issues. I recognize the lack of power that we have towards like actually fighting against structural oppression like misogyny, right? By taking down like one fucking misogynistic content creator, you know what I mean? That's like, I don't know how to describe it. Like that's not gonna fucking solve the issue, you know what I mean? It's true, it's just fucking true. But I'm not gonna ride to like keep a guy like Andrew Tate unbanned from these platforms when he very clearly is like championing it. Like nobody asked him to be the fucking CEO of misogyny, and he was like, no, I'm gonna be the CEO of misogyny.
Yeah, straight up, Andrew Tate literally was like, I'm gonna fucking go all the way and just be like the #1 misogynist. Like, number fucking one, while also simultaneously being totally appalled to it. Like, what the fuck?
I'm gonna do it. I hate women. Except no, I don't. Now that I got banned, I don't hate women. I'm sorry. I love women. Like, he could have just been, like, lightly misogynistic and continued doing what he was fucking doing. But no. He had to, like, literally...
No, okay, so Mark says, like, what's wrong with you if that's your brand? The thing is that I've tried to bring up before, and I want to continue to bring up, like, time and time again, is that stupidity sells. It's so easy. If I was a content creator, like, well, I am a content creator. I'm on YouTube, like, streaming to you now. If I was to talk less about, like, Hyperion issues and more about, like, radical right issues, if I was to be more of a radical right YouTube content creator, I would be making so much money right now. I would be making bank, dudes. I would be making so much fucking money because it sells. It sells. It sells. Stupidity sells. But no, I'm not. I'm talking about reasonable things, rational things, and that's why I'm poor. So please, on that note, if you can, like, tip to mindfulmonad.com, please do so. And then there's... Oh my god, no. Okay, so I didn't mean to do that. I did not mean to do that! I need to do my buttons. But anyways, so, if you can go to mindfulmonad.com, and there is an opportunity to leave me a tip if you can. I put tips towards purchasing subscriptions to the programs I use to give you the live streams and do, like, the Adobe, the Photoshop, the Premiere Pro, and all that stuff. So anyways, continuing.
Without the history of current and subjugation of black communities and black people in general that have been systematically underfunded, systematically cast aside, that have been ruined by the criminal justice system and a lack of adequate funding, the N-word would just be a mean word. It would be the exact same thing as the word cracker. The delicious saltine treat is what I'm saying. And I think most successfully fucking clapping Andrew Tate's ass cheeks in front of hundreds of was exclusively because as well. Probably not, though. You know what I mean?
I think we strolled back. Hold on. Let me get back to the point.
To like keep a guy like Andrew Tate unbanned from these platforms when he very clearly is like championing it. Like nobody asked him to be the fucking CEO of misogyny, and he was like, no, I'm gonna be the CEO of misogyny. I'm gonna do it. I hate women. Except no, I don't. Now that I got banned, I don't hate women. I'm sorry. I love women. Like, he could have just been like lightly misogynistic and continued doing what he was fucking doing. But no, he had to like literally, the reason why he was so powerful and so successful in such a short period of time was because he was appealing to the dumbest person. And in order to appeal to the dumbest person, you got to just fucking let it ride. You got to just say it like you mean it, right?
Yep.
The Trump thing. Trump isn't any different than any other fucking Republican with respect to his worldview, with the things that he advocates for, but he says it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Stupidity sells. Stupidity sells. Right-wing rhetoric, right-wing propaganda sells. It sells hard. Conservative rhetoric sells hard. I don't sell that, so that's why I'm poor. Anyway, so tip if you can, please. No, honestly, my rent is going up in November. Please help me.
He says it in a way that dumb guys understand. And when you do that, you will be very successful. When you do that, you'll be very, very successful, especially if you are firmly planting yourself behind structural inequalities and structural oppression, like misogyny, like racism, you know what I mean? If you do that, there is already pre-existing social conditioning. So people are constantly looking for someone to reconfirm their biases. This is much larger than Tate. The reason why they scalped one was because, like, he wrote it. He said he was the CEO of misogyny. So what were you expecting? Is there a way to do that but to re-educate them to the light side of the force? I wonder. I wonder if there is. I wonder if there is a way to, I don't know, dumb down content and commentary and make it as broadly appealing as possible from like a leftist perspective. Oh, well, I guess we'll never know if there is someone doing that with like a pretty sizable community as well. Probably not, though.
Yo, all y'all trolls that are like, oh, you're deleting comments for the truth. Like, shut up. We know what you're doing. Stop it. Stop. Fuck off and stop. Go outside. Go outside. Touch grass. Talk to a young person. Fuck yourself. Masturbate. You might feel better. Do anything but waste your time here. Because I'll tell you what, we're going to keep live streaming, so fuck you, I don't know. Like, these people are just so dumb. I just can't. Like, I'm losing my shit because they're so dumb and they think we're going to stop. We're not. Anyways, moving on to Hassan.
You know what I mean? Andrew Tate being banned. Steven Crowder's talking about it. Who's Andrew Tate? What's more important is why Andrew Tate was suspended from numerous social media platforms. Hint, too many guys enjoyed his content. We also say goodbye to a legend as Brian Stelter has finally been fired from CNN. Tune in right now.
No, you know what's so funny? Andrew Tate is like, so, like, he's already banned and he's already over before people can really capitalize on it, which is why I'm proud that I managed to cover Andrew Tate before he went out of style. Yes, Susan is right. Let's listen to Susan. Let's stay on topic. Seriously.
Rock on gesture.
Fuck yeah. Thank you so much, Zero. Zero, thank you so much for coming and supporting. Zero has always been a wonderful supporter of Mindful Monad. I really appreciate you and everything you do. Thank you so much. Rock on, honey. Rock on, honey.
Yeah. Over charges of human trafficking after allegedly kidnapped an American woman. Yeah, too many guys enjoyed his content. Like, even if he didn't do this, even if this wasn't real, motherfucker, His content literally was like, choke women. Women are property. Of course, the right is going to try to farm the Andrew Tate clout as much as they can. But, well, they didn't get to it fast enough. You know what I mean? They were not able to get to Andrew Tate fast enough. And unfortunately, before they could get to Andrew Tate and, like, suckle his titties for all that good, delicious SEO juice that they could have gotten, he got clapped. And only Aiden Ross was able to do the clout farming. So, guess what? Hold this fucking L, Steven Crowder. Hold this fucking L, Ben Shabibo. I love the idea that, like, TikTok, Facebook.
Bye, Velvet. Good night.
All these guys are like, oh, man, oops. I guess we kind of fucked up with this Andrew Tate character. Time to ban him. When, in fact, like, Andrew Tates have existed throughout time. They're not going anywhere, okay? There's going to be more that come out, but, like, this is going to continue happening because it is a viable way to make money. They're never going to actually tackle the problem, which is the algorithms pumping out this kind of fucking shit. These are structural issues regardless, and you can't just, like, take it out by, like, cutting the head of the Hydra. There's always another head that's going to pop up.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
we have to get rid of women once. Yeah, the only way to defeat the Andrew Tate and misogyny is by getting rid of all women. That's right. I'm the new Andrew Tate. I'm the new top G. I took him down. I took him down multiple pegs, and now I'm the new top G. But yeah, someone else is gonna fucking take the. Someone else is gonna take the role. Someone else is gonna take their position.
Yes.
And do the exact.
This is what I'm talking about. Andrew Tate is not ending. Somebody else is going to take his position as top G misogynist.
Exact same shit that they're doing, and there's always going to be a place for that. The issue is the algorithms literally fucking pump you into the stratosphere. So, back in like 2016.
Oh my god, free Tate. Do we have a tater tot here? Tater tots are Andrew Tate, like, fans.
2017, it was like, alt-right shit. There were so many kids that were turning fucking Nazi. Now with TikTok, it's even worse than that. Banning Andrew Tate really doesn't do anything. The Hydra analogy is spot on. It's the algorithm that needs fixing so it doesn't boost these guys. Yeah. But they're never going to do that because guess what, dude? They're not going to do that because that's how they make money. They fucking milked Andrew Tate like Andrew Tate milked misogyny. It's like a double bind. Andrew Tate milked misogyny to fucking blow his own personal brand up. Right?
Yep.
And then TikTok and all these other platforms are also milking him because
Yep.
there's more eyeballs, there's more content. That kind of fucking right-wing reactionary content
Yep.
is like super easy to make. And
Yep.
it's super easy to have people pay attention to it. So
Yep.
when you do that, you're not going to ban a guy like that, or
Nope.
you're not going to ban a guy like that until it's fucking too late because like
Yep.
you're already taking advantage of him. Like TikTok and Facebook and all these other platforms used Andrew Tate like Andrew Tate used his fucking girlfriends to do his webcam business.
Yes, because of that thing where Andrew Tate, like, literally believes that if you have a girlfriend and your girlfriend is into sex work, then you're completely entitled to her earnings because she is your property. So, anyways. So, that is the wrap up on Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate is known as, like, the top G of, like, misogyny, and he is one of the most popular people right now on the internet. However, he is also being taken down. So, he no longer has a platform or a premise on, I believe, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter. And in addition to that, Andrew Tate has taken down his website, how to become a top J, where it's literally like a pyramid scheme. So, oh, Delia says, I learned about Andrew Tate through H3H3 and Just G's. Yeah, so H3H3 podcast is something that I really love. It's not a Hyperion podcast, but I do believe this podcast are rather very reasonable and entertaining people. So please follow H3H3 podcast. That's a good thing to look into. So I want to move on right now to Keffals, and I'm going to take a minute to talk to you guys in the chat right now, but I do want to move on to Keffals. Now, I want to say that Keffals, Keffals, Keffals is a trans woman, an open trans woman who is a Twitch streamer and, speaks a lot about trans issues and things. And the thing is that recently she has been targeted and swatted for no reason, and the police have treated her very poorly. Now, I want to be very clear that to be swatted is to actually have people invade your house and your personal space. It's not the same as like a couple of policemen showing up to your door. It's not the same thing. If a couple of policemen show up at your door and gently knock on it, it's like, or even a tough knock. Like, if policemen show up at your door and knock on it and they're like, hey, what's up? Like, that's not swatting. Swatting is actually waking up to a gun in your face, like this trans woman did. Keffals woke up one morning to a gun in her face. And she woke up thinking, she might die. And so I want to explore this issue because there is very few trans representatives in social media, and I think every trans representative on social media has a right to represent themselves as they want. Let's dive more into this because there's more to this than what I'm speaking about right now. So anyways. Yeah, Andy Tate. Oh my god, do we literally have like little tater tots in our stream? That's so funny! Oh my god, little tater tots. Oh, little cute little babies. Oh, they're so cute. Oh, they're so angry. Don't you dare speak ill about Andrew Tate. Little stompy butts. Sit down, Sonny. Anyways. So, Keffals is a trans woman who is a successful streamer who has recently been in a bad predicament. Anyways. Let's start.
I can't even. Hello.
So, I want to, first start actually with her initial message, and then we're going to cut over to Jessie Gender, who I think does a very fabulous job of explaining what the situation is really like, in addition to Jessie Gender adding her own personal experience, which I think is very important. So that's why I'm using Jessie Gender again. I love Jessie Gender so much. She is so smart. God damn, she is so intelligent. And I love her content. She is so creative. So let's watch this first one, and then let's go to Jessie Gender.
On August 5th, I was woken up by London Police Services pointing an assault rifle in my face at my home. I was told later that at 6 a.m. that morning, an email impersonating me was sent to every city councillor in the City of London, Ontario, stating that I have an illegal firearm, that I killed my...
Can we start again? Because it's so much. Oh my god.
On August 5th, I was woken up by London Police Services pointing an assault rifle in my face.
Imagine waking up one morning in your bed that you go to sleep to every night. Imagine going to sleep in your bed and suddenly waking up one morning with a stranger in uniform in your home and pointing an assault rifle at your head. I just want you to grasp that reality of somebody like just waking up and having a fucking assault rifle pointed in your face in the morning and realizing, like, am I gonna die? And realizing how confusing that is when you're just a regular average person.
At my home. I was told later that at 6 a.m. that morning, an email impersonating me was sent to every city councillor in the City of London, Ontario.
So somebody impersonating this poor trans woman sent an email out to a lot of police forces and departments out there in her local area, stating that she killed her mother when she did not. This was an impersonation. This poor woman didn't do anything. Keffals did nothing.
Stating that I have an illegal firearm, that I killed my mother, and that I plan to go to City Hall and shoot every cisgender person I see. I was shown the email while I was being interrogated in police custody. While the emails were riddled with grammatical errors and read more like something a troll would say than something I would sincerely say, the police took it seriously. Not only that, the email said my name was Clara Sorrenti, but also stated what my dead name was. It was an obvious attempt to make the police humiliate me. During the arrest, the police officer referred to me by my dead name. I was booked in the station under my dead name. The police...
So if you're not familiar with the term, if you're trans, and honestly, you don't even have to be trans. If you no longer go by a certain name that you were assigned anymore, if you don't go by that certain name anymore and you legally change it, that's considered a dead name. I have dead names. I actually have several dead names. But to refer to somebody by their dead name when they very vehemently have changed it is an act of insult. Yeah. It's an insult. Anyways, back to Keffals.
When talking to my mother, referred to me as her son. This is despite the fact that I have run as both a member of parliament and a member of provincial parliament under my name, Clara Sorrenti. The fact that a fake email led to London Police Services booking me under my dead name reveals the prejudice that many police have towards transgender people. This is despite the fact that the email contained my real name before ever even mentioning my dead name. This is one of the property bags returned to me after I was released from custody. All of the property bags returned to me have Roberts written on them. Roberts was my last name until I legally changed my name first to Kaylee Sorrenti on January 25th, 2012, and then later to Clara Sorrenti on March 7th, 2018. When I changed my name, I took my mother's maiden name. My last name has not been Roberts in over 10 years. The only reason that
her last name has not been Roberts in over 10 years. And yet, when the police invaded her home, swatted her, which again, I have to be very clear that swatting is not the same as two police simply knocking at your door. Swatting is police literally, unwillfully invading your fucking home. She woke up to a barrel of a gun in her fucking eye. Can you imagine waking up to a stranger in your home with a gun pointed directly at your pupil? She was not known as Roberts for 10 years. That's a decade. Obviously, somebody does not like trans people here. Obviously.
That Roberts is on the property bags is because I was booked under my dead name. A search warrant was issued, which I have a copy of here. They were looking for a handgun, ammunition, cartridges, cleaning tools, a gun case, cell phones, and computers. They seized both my personal and work phone, as well as the work computer that I broadcast on Twitch from. Not only that, but the police seized my fiance's cell phones and laptop, as well as their external drive, which contained the only copy of their PhD thesis, and other important university documents. Because of the negligence of the police, we were both left functionally unemployed, and I have spent thousands of dollars replacing.
Oh no, Frank, you don't understand. We literally have like a specific group of trolls like after us right now, and I just fucking don't give a shit anymore because really what I want to do is talk about what I want to talk about on my fucking live stream.
Our computers and cell phones so our lives aren't completely destroyed by what happened to us. After the police interrogated me and realized this is a situation that has happened to me before, I was released with no charges. Without my devices, I could not let people close to me know what had happened to me, and they were in the dark for hours. Even after acquiring a new phone, I still cannot log into some of my accounts because the London Police Service holds the phone that my two-factor authentication goes to. This same situation happened just over a week ago, on Sunday, July 31st, in a city I don't live in, Toronto. On that day, I talked to Sergeant Nathan Gibson after someone impersonating me made similar threats to Toronto politicians. Sergeant Gibson chalked it up to a swatting attempt. I was not charged with a crime, nor was I named as a suspect in an investigation by the Toronto Police. London Police Services should have been aware that this could happen. In fact, my brother called London Police Services on March 27th in a conversation lasting 9 minutes and 16 seconds to see if my family could be put on a no swatting list, only to be treated like we were wearing tinfoil hats and completely dismissed. They told me,
Oh, that sucks. They already did the actual, like, proper processes and tried to mitigate this issue, and then they were treated as if they were full of shit. Hey, Frank, if it doesn't matter, then just relax and watch us. Like, we're just trying to talk about the issue with Keffals.
my brother things would be fine. They were wrong. Despite getting a search warrant to search my home and finding no guns, as well as my mother alive and well, I am still a suspect in the investigation by London Police Services. My devices, including my fiance's hard drive that contains all of their important PhD-related documents, will not be returned to us before digital forensics analyzes them. This is a process my lawyer advised me could take months. Swatting is a crime. Identity theft is a crime. And because it was a crime that was motivated by hatred against transgender people, it was a hate crime perpetrated against me. Instead of the police helping me, they terrorized me and my loved ones, traumatizing me and leaving my fiance and I on the verge of losing everything. They victimized me for being the victim of a hate crime. I need your help because I can't do this alone. I started a GoFundMe to move immediately, recoup my losses, and build a legal fund to protect my rights.
Yeah.
I have been subject to emotional damages, financial damages, blatant violations of the Human Rights Act, and discrimination on the basis of gender identity and expression. I was also subject to unjust seizures, which not only affected my livelihood, but has severely disrupted the work that my fiance is doing in their doctorate program, and has the potential to impact whether or not my fiance finishes their doctorate. Because there is no policy in my city against swatting, there is no guarantee this will not happen again, and my home is not safe. If you are a journalist or someone who works in media and you want to reach out to me for comment, you can reach me at inquiries@keffals.info.
So Keffals very vehemently wants this to be spread around, and that's kind of like, I mean, I'm not like the savior in this instance, but I'm happy to be a part of like spreading this around. No, Frank, nobody wants to talk about that stuff. You just think they do. Thank you, and good night.
I'll leave all additional information and links in the description. I do not yet know when I'm going to be returning to broadcasting on Twitch. When I was woken up by police officers and saw the assault rifle pointed at me, I thought I was going to die.
Yeah. That's the part that disturbs me the most. Honestly, this is the part that disturbs me the most about this instance. Is waking up in your bed to a strange man pointing an assault rifle directly to one of your pupils and yelling in your face. That is swatting. 2 policemen knocking on your door is not swatting. A bunch of weird-ass men pointing guns in your face when you wake up is swatting. Yeah, Susan is right. Please listen to Susan. I'm just disturbed by this. So I want to hear right now about Jessie Gender's view of this, because the reason I want to listen to Jessie Gender is because she has also a personal experience to add to this situation. So I want to watch this.
Hello, interwebs. I hope you are all doing well, and I mean that incredibly deeply and sincerely, especially today, because this is going to be a little bit of a difficult topic for today's video, because this wasn't one that I was planning on making, but it's surrounding an event that happened earlier this week surrounding transgender advocate and Twitch streamer Keffals. If you haven't heard of Keffals, she's been a recent rising prominent figure both within the trans community and Twitch spaces for a lot of her advocacy and speaking out on transgender issues. Now, Keffals, like pretty much everybody on the internet, has not been a completely uncontroversial figure, both from bad faith critics and good faith critics, and I'll touch a little bit upon that later on in this video. But more importantly, what I am doing this video on, I want to draw attention to, is the deeply horrifying and traumatic experience that Keffals was put through by people trying to target and harass her.
Yeah.
And it's something that I wanted to talk about first and foremost because it is an honestly horrifying thing that Keffals herself has asked people to try to draw attention to bring notice to, because it is absolutely horrifying and people should know about it. And secondly, I also want to talk about this experience in terms of how it is a kind of more indicative of a broad-based problem and very real fear that many prominent transgender people, public-facing transgender people, and honestly just any publicly out trans person feels when they're out in the world today, given the amount of vilification and attacks and harassment there has been around trans people in public and online spaces. To be entirely honest with you, this event, which, by the way, was the intentional swatting and then further mistreatment of Keffals by the police, is something that I have felt a lot of fear around, and I'll talk about that. And I'll be honest, completely terrifies me, especially considering this is happening to someone that is in a very similar space to me as a online content creator who is transgender.
Yeah, just so you know, I don't know if it's like relevant or not, but I actually had like the lovely opportunity to have Jessie Gender have dinner at my house once. Jessie is such a lovely individual, and I do recall during us eating dinner, her lamenting and expressing just kind of some of the struggles she had with being an open trans person in public. So this is the kind of stuff where like I really pay attention to Jessie Gender, because I don't know, I really look up to her, and she's very well educated and very well experienced. Yeah, Light Remus, if you can't stay on topic, just watch the replay, because, you know, even though the chat room is going on, I do expect it to be somewhat participating in the topic of what we are discussing. I mean, totally, that's the whole point of the chat room, so thank you. Thank you for bowing out and coming back later. Anyways.
And talks about trans issues. So we're going to talk about all of that. I'm going to be honest with you, it's going to be difficult for me to talk about this because I am going to talk about some personal situations for myself, and as such, I'm just going to put up a big content warning right now. We're going to be talking about police mistreatment of trans people, transphobia in general, police brutality, so just know that going in, and if you can't handle this video, I totally understand. Please just know that I love you, and take care of yourself. So before we speak more generally and I talk a little bit about my own experiences with what's going on here, let's talk about first the person who needs to be centralized in this conversation, and that is Keffals.
Bye, Zing.
Herself. I'm going to put up in the down below, as well as should be up here in the video, a video released by Keffals, I believe yesterday, that outlined everything that happened to her and the events that took place. And she goes over it in great detail in 6 minutes, so I'm just going to give the broad-based strokes. But essentially what happened was that Keffals was woken up by a police officer holding a gun in her face, and then she was arrested. And what she eventually found out was that she had been swatted, which means that someone online had called the police on her and told them her address, which people had gotten in line because she has been previously doxxed, and told police that she had killed her mother and that she had a weapon, which then led the police to show up at her house. And
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't hear anybody lament at not being able to hear Hassan's take on Andrew Tate. So definitely, if you're having problems, let me know. I didn't really see anything about the first video, so I assume people were able to hear it. Well, if there's a cat on your head, then maybe that's why you didn't hear it right. I don't know, like, that kind of seems like a thing. I didn't hear it, but there's this weird, crazy thing that happened where I didn't hear it. Like, that's probably why you didn't hear it.
knock on her doors and then arrest her. And this is the thing that I wish to stress most importantly. Keffals literally woke up with a gun in her face and thought she was going to die.
That's where I'm mad. I'm mad that somebody woke up in the morning and opened their eyeballs to a gun in their face and thought they were going to die. I'm not okay with that in any instance for anything ever.
Horrifying, and I can't even know what that must feel like. It's got to be absolutely horrifying, and just even thinking about it is honestly quite scary. But to make this experience even worse, Keffals was then arrested and taken to the police station, where she was repeatedly misgendered because the person who called the police had given the police her dead name. They put her dead name all over the evidence, the name of the case, so many other things. They treated her horribly. Again, I'll direct you to her video where she talks about specifics. And then from there, after going through all of this and talking to police and telling them that clearly this was false and fake, and that she was being targeted because she is an online creator, she was finally let go, though now she has an arrest record, as well as police having seized a bunch of her and her spouse's stuff in her home. A lot of this stuff included things like her and her spouse's computer, which she and her spouse need to both do her job as a Twitch streamer, as well as her spouse needs to complete her education as she...
So at this point, I'm imagining waking up to somebody pointing a gun in my face and then simultaneously being like, I'm going to take your phone and your laptop, which if somebody did that to me right now, I would be dead in the water. Absolutely dead in the water.
She's still a student. And they learned that they probably will not receive any of this stuff back for several months as the investigation is ongoing, which ultimately prevents her from doing her job, making income, being able to pay her bills, as well as her partner's education, because her partner was a student and a lot of her documents were on her laptop. It's honestly just incredibly fucked up. And on top of all this, she now has to move immediately because she may be doxxed again and someone may target her again. Now, she set up a GoFundMe to help her with the move, as well as get some equipment back, which she'll need to help do her job. But obviously, it's incredibly difficult to do your job when you're a Twitch streamer after having dealing with all the emotionally traumatizing moments that is all of this, as well as the time wasted that she's going to need to move, as well as the fact that a lot of things on both of those computers are irreplaceable. So again, all of this is completely fucked up and deeply, deeply traumatizing. There's a lot to talk about with the situation, so I'm going to kind of break it down, and I kind of see two major things that need to be discussed. And that is, first, why Keffals was targeted and why it was actually so effective.
Yes.
And two, Keffals' treatment by the police after and during the fact.
That's what I'm most suspicious about. Honestly, it's like Keffals was put under a process where other people have been put under before. However, Keffals, for some reason, had a more extreme part of the process. Like, there is a legality to changing your name. Just for example, My previous name was Allie Torgensen. It's not a secret. It's not sacred. It's not any power over me. I legally changed it to Jan Erickson. I have been Jan Erickson for over a year now. My name is legally Jan Erickson. I am Jan Erickson, a judge. A California judge literally signed saying, I am now Jan Erickson, a non binary person. I am not Ali Torgensen anymore. It's not secret, but it would be weird to be targeted and have somebody be like, well, you're Ali Torgensen and you're a girl, when I'm not. I'm Jan Erickson, a non binary person. Like, that would be very strange. So, obviously, that there's some weird transphobic, like, shit going on here.
Let's start with talking about the police, because that's kind of the more direct and more succinct, because the first part is going to be a lot more complex, and I'll probably spend the predominant part of the latter half of this video talking about it. Obviously, Keffals' specific situation is deeply fucked up, but what's even more fucked up is the fact that it is not an uncommon experience. While the specifics may be unique to her, trans people are unfortunately treated like this a lot by the police. First and foremost, Keffals talked about how she went to the police months ago to warn them that this might actually happen, that she might be swatted, to which many of the police officers dismissed her concerns and downplayed them.
In fact, my brother called London Police Services on March 27th in a conversation lasting 9 minutes and 16 seconds to see if my family could be put on a no swatting list, only to be treated like we were wearing tinfoil hats.
So, I'm gonna leave you guys on play here for a minute while I go to the bathroom.
And completely dismissed. They told my brother things would be fine. They were wrong.
Now, obviously, they were wrong, and she was entirely warranted in her concern, but this is sadly how many trans folks, queer folks, and women and people of color are treated by the police. Whenever they go to police to express concern or a problem going on, their concerns are often downplayed, even when they are actually a victim of a crime. Many marginalized people who are the victim of an assault or a violent crime or even sexual assault are dismissed by the police, or their pain or worry is downplayed. There have been numerous studies to show this over the years. Even more so, trans people are often more likely to be targeted by the police. For example, a recent study found that California police stopped transgender people 44% of the time for reasonable suspicion, meaning ultimately that they just suspected that a trans person was a problem and that they needed to stop them. This means that police officers were stopping transgender people 50% of the time, not for some traffic violation or some immediate infraction that they may have been involved in, but just because they looked suspicious. And they were 4 times more likely to do so to a trans person than a cis person. Another study found that trans people are 3.7 times percent more likely to experience some form of police violence. But that's just interactions with the police. Let's talk about Keffals' situation, where she was arrested and repeatedly misgendered and honestly humiliated by the police. Again, this is something that many trans people are sadly used to when they encounter the police. If police ever know your dead name, whether you are legally the other name or not, and whether you've been using that name for decades at this point, they will oftentimes use your dead name, which is deeply humiliating and harmful for many trans people. It's demeaning and dehumanizing. I mean, my name is legally Jesse Earl, and I've been using it for almost a decade at this point, and I honestly would not be shocked if a police officer somehow still used my dead name despite all of that. And an experience with the police that many trans people have. And it can be deeply traumatized, as Keffals has articulated. So, trans people are more likely to end up in situations like this, whether we did anything wrong or not. And on top of all that, these situations often leave trans people financially hurt as a result. I already talked about Keffals specifically, and that can happen to a lot of different trans people having our stuff seized and things like that. But also on top of that, what if a trans person needed to go to a job? Many trans people are discriminated in finding work, being able to get a job, and things like that. And if we miss a day at work because we were arrested or pulled over by the police and have to deal with all of that crap, we may be fired as a result. We also end up having to pay for all of this stuff like Keffals is going through right now. And all of that, quite frankly, is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more I could talk about police's treatment of trans people once they're in custody, once they're arrested, when they're in prisons, when they're in jail, in the judicial system, all of that stuff. But just talking about a situation similar to what Keffals has gone through, that's just it, the tip of the iceberg there. On top of the fact that there are many situations that trans people are forced into,
Oh my god, shit. I was muted! I was muted! That's good, because I literally was just gearing up to, like, say my point. So, I was just gearing up to say my point. Like, don't worry, we didn't miss anything. So, as I was saying, like, this is interesting because, it's not a soapbox that I'm a non-binary trans person, but, like, at the same time, now I'm distracted. Okay, hold on, let me back up.
Like sex work, for example, with all of that crap, we may be fired as a result. We also end up having to pay for all of this stuff like Keffals is going through right now. And all of that, quite frankly, is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to talk about police's treatment of trans people once they're in custody, once they're arrested, when they're in prisons, when they're in jail, in the judicial.
Yeah, so there's something about people, cis-normative people who look at people like me who are like non-binary. And like I said before, even trans people are transphobic. That is a thing. That is a thing. Trans people are transphobic. So it's like, you're not a thing. It's like, but when you look at somebody that way, there's the rhetoric where it's like very hateful, it's very insulting, but it's to like dehumanize somebody because ultimately they're afraid of them. They're afraid of them. And trans people literally only make up 2% of the population of humanity. 2%. 2%. Riddle me this. Riddle me this. Why are trans people being targeted so hard when there's such a small, minute problem? Why are they being targeted so hard right now? The answer is because they're being made an example of for somebody else's dialect and rhetoric and things. It's really sad. It's sad. Because ultimately, people like myself, who is non-binary and trans, I just, like, I don't care. Like, I don't want to sit here and reiterate that I'm non-binary and trans all the fucking time. I don't give a shit about that. Like, I want to talk about other shit. But if people constantly demonize me for being that, then yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to talk about nothing but that.
System, all of that stuff, but just talking about a situation similar to what Keffals has gone through, that's just it, the tip of the iceberg there. On top of the fact that there are many situations that trans people are forced into, like sex work, for example, that also increase trans people's likelihood to encounter police officers. Not to mention, because trans people have more interactions with the police, we're more likely to be arrested just generally. Now, some of you probably are wondering, why did I go so general with this when we're talking about Keffals' specific situation? Well, it is because I want you to know that while Keffals' situation is absolutely horrifying, traumatizing, and deeply scary, and I am certainly not taking away any of that, I want you to know that this is not uncommon. This happens, sadly, all the time.
Okay.
I don't want to distract from Keffals specifically. I want you to know that this is something that happens regularly.
And we don't hear about that. Why don't we hear about this in mainstream media? Why don't we hear about these problems among trans people? Why is it in mainstream media we constantly hear trans people as being like demonic and threatening and all this stuff? But why don't we ever see trans people being threatened? That's what I'm wondering. Light Remus, relax! Relax, right? Light Remus, relax! Just sit there and just sip Kool-Aid. Come on. Kool-Aid. I don't even drink Kool-Aid. What's a good thing? Let's see. Right now I'm having Coors. Who is having a drink right now? I got Coors. Let's see. Kool-Aid. I say Kool-Aid because that's like a reference to being, I don't know, growing up poor. We had Kool-Aid, okay? We had Kool-Aid when we grew up poor. That's why I say Kool-Aid. Dr. Pepper. Hey, Tyler, we got Dr. Pepper. Actually, oh my God. You know, if it was really crisp and cold, like ice cold, I think I would go for a nice Dr. Pepper right now. Cassie, water. We drank water from the hose, bitch. Mark says, have a Coke and a smile. You know what's good is, I was talking about it with my boss the other day, where, like, the best Coke is the Coca-Cola from the glass bottle from Mexico. There's something about Mexican glass bottle, like, Coca-Cola that's, like, the best, but it has to be, like, ice cold. Ice cold. Evian. Jewel. Evian. This is, like, really, I don't know. Jewel Marsh, can you just, like, get into Vaporwave with me? Because I feel like you could go there. I don't know. Evian. Vaporwave. She'll move. Burn. Look up Macintosh, bro. Vaporwave. Macintosh Vaporwave. Cassie says, I drank a cherry limeade slush earlier today, and like 4 sips in, I had to toss it because it was making me sick. That's like me. At my work, like, I have access to, like, fresh made, like, what's it? Oh, jeez, what's it called? Horchata. Okay, so horchata. I have horchata is like a nice cinnamon, like, ice cold rice drink. It's so good, honestly. It really is. But, like, when you have access to a lot of it, it's like you can't drink much of it. Like, I can stand a couple of sips before I just, like, have a cardiac arrest. A Mexican Coke. Or maybe just maybe there's just Coke in it because it's Mexico, right? I literally have only done Coke once in my life, and it was like over a decade ago, and I don't want to do it again. I really don't. I just, like, literally once I've done cocaine. I will share that. Anyways, so let's continue to about Keffals swatting, because honestly, it's very disturbing. I don't like this, and I want to hear more.
To trans people. But that is just the beginning because, like I said, Keffals was targeted in this way. Someone called the police on her and had all of this happen to her, and they knew that something like this or similar to it would happen to her when they did it. And it is because the person that called her know that this is how the police treat trans people. While certainly swatting is something that happens to anybody of any identity online, people of color, women, trans people, and queer people are way more likely to experience something as traumatizing as what Keffals went through. And honestly, there are many people of marginalized groups, especially black people in the United States, who, if that happened to them, they would have ended up dead. Quite frankly, when Keffals thought...
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody with, like, less value assigned socially in this world, such as people of color, black people, would be dead.
That she was going to die when she woke up with a gun in her face, that was not in an unreasonable fear. And the people who caused this know that. Which brings me to the second part of this video that I want to spend more time on, and that is why Keffals was targeted. Now, I'm going to talk about a lot here, but I'm just going to put this right up front. I've actually been reading this book, Crash Override by Zoe Quinn, who some of you may know was the woman who was at the center of Gamergate several years ago. Oh, I just realized it might almost be nearly a decade at this point since Gamergate happened, so that's kind of crazy. Anyways, this is a book written by her, and a lot of what I'm going to be talking about in just a minute, she actually talks about in her book. And the reason I'm mentioning this book is I've actually been reading it recently for a completely other project and research that I've been doing, but I found...
Let's see. Light Remus says, I have classic lemonade ice. Oh, that's good. I like... I love lemonade. Ice cold lemonade. Ooh.
that a lot of the things that she talks about in here resonate with me personally deeply, with things that I have experienced on obviously a much smaller level than she has. But it is everything I'm going to be talking about over the next few minutes is in this book, and I found it to be both an invaluable resource for research as well as something that spoke to me and honestly made me feel a little bit less alone, because I was like, oh, someone else experiences this too. So I just wanted to take this moment to shield someone else's book who I've never met and don't know. But it was honestly just a really helpful book. So I just wanted to point that out. So yeah, let's talk about this. Anyways, first and
Yeah, relax.
foremost, just to state the obvious, Keffals is a public-facing trans person who has been gaining more and more prominence lately. We'll talk about why she's been gaining prominence in a second, but honestly, just the fact that a trans person is publicly visible makes us a target for harassment and honestly just events like this. I've already spoken about in several other videos how many trans people, people of color, and women get targeted harassment just for being publicly visible in things like TV shows or movies.
There's something about, honestly, it's so funny. It's not funny. It's not funny at all. Let me tell you what's not funny. It's not funny that I have been publicly transmasculine openly for over a year now. And in the beginning, I expected a lot of backlash by announcing, even simply just saying, like, hey, I'm non-binary, I'm transmasculine. I thought I would have gotten a lot of backlash, and it was very underwhelming when I first announced that. But I went on with my life, and I continued not to constantly declare that I'm transmasculine all the time, but not to hide it either, just going on with my life like women go along with their life, or men. What's very interesting to me is there's men and women who are very proud of their gender. They're very proud. They're very vocal and open. I am a man. I am very manly. And then there's women who say, I am a woman. I'm very womanly. I am the embodiment of womanhood. And it's so celebrated. But the moment that somebody like me is like, hey, I'm non-binary and I'm a transmasculine, suddenly that's bad? What am I doing different than vocal women? What am I doing different than vocal men? What am I doing different than anybody else who is proud of their gender? Suddenly when I'm non-binary, suddenly when I'm transmasculine, suddenly it's bad. When it's okay to be a woman, it's okay to be a man, and I totally support those things. I love those things. I love it when people who are like, I'm a woman and I'm proud of that. I love that. I think they should be proud of that. When somebody's like, I'm a man and I'm so masculine, and like they really like dig into that, I think they should be proud of that. When somebody's non-binary, when somebody is trans, when somebody's something else, when somebody isn't even any of that, when somebody's like agender or something like that, like when they're like, I'm proud to be this, and like, why is that suddenly bad? Why is that suddenly bad? It doesn't hurt anybody. It doesn't threaten anybody. It's just somebody else. So it's just like, I don't know. Relax. Yeah, Cassie says, I'm every woman. Oh no. Stop it, Jan. Stop singing. No, okay. Anyways. Moving on.
Movies. Take, for example, Moses Ingram, who simply appeared in a Star Wars show, who received a ton of racist backlash just for being in it.
There's nothing anybody can do about this. There's nothing anybody can do to stop this hate. And so I question what my purpose is, and even being here in front of you saying that this is happening, I don't really know. But I think the thing that bothers me is that, like, sort of this feeling that I've had inside of myself, which no one has told me, but this feeling of, like, I just gotta shut up and take it. You know, I just kind of gotta bear it. And I'm not built like that. So I really just wanted to come on, I think, and say thank you to the people who show up for me in the comments and the places that I'm not gonna put myself. And to the rest of y'all.
Hi, Autonomous. I don't know what you mean. We're just regular YouTubers like everybody else here, so, but welcome. That's very ingratiated. Thank you. A little over the top, but, thanks.
Y'all weird.
Or take transgender actress Jessie James Cattell, who recently appeared in an episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, who also received a lot of harassment. As well as the actor who played Ortegas on that same show, who has been outspoken about the harassment that she has received on the show for even appearing to be queer, something that isn't actually stated within the show. And those are just big name examples, but literally any trans person, regardless of whether they're talking about big important issues or just silly nonsense games and stuff, are likely to receive harassment for simply being publicly visible. So there's just that. But Keffals was an even more likely target because she has been outspoken about a lot of transgender issues and going after a ton of transphobic groups and people. And Keffals has gone after a lot of different transphobic people on many different levels, from the quartering to J.K. Rowling to Matt Walsh.
Also, moderators, like, come on. This is obvious, right? Autonomous, Hyperianism, oxymoronics. Like, come on. Can we get rid of this fucker? Can we just axe this asshole? Like, it's just, like, can we just fucking, thank you. Thank you, Joel. Like, oh my god. Okay, trolls, honestly, if you want to get better, I feel so sad because I'm giving you advice how to troll us better. Don't announce your plans. I don't know. Or keep doing it. It's going well.
And when trans people do that, when we speak up about our own harassment, about our own
I don't know, keep doing it. Honestly, it's so fucking easy.
Targeting of our community in different ways, whether it's us personally or whether we're just talking generally, we are more likely to be targeted by those people for harassment. It's like the Eye of Sauron. Once they turn your gaze on you, they'll send all of their followers to harass and attack you. I've already talked about in other videos, for example, how Matt Walsh, who is a Daily Wire content creator...
Oh my god, we are going to cover Matt Walsh next week. I swear to god. Okay, let's do it. Matt Walsh next week. You have to know about Matt Walsh.
We'll do react content to things like trans people on the Lids of TikTok channel, which will
You're right, Laura. It's best not to encourage them. We should move on.
ultimately lead to a mass targeted harassment of those trans people who are just existing on things like TikTok. But he and other transphobic creators will also target many trans people who speak up against them, drawing their audiences to go and attack and harass those people. So the more you speak up, the more likely you are to become a target of harassment and these very obvious surreptitious tactics to try and harm and attack you and dehumanize and even kill you. Even more specifically, though, there are literally communities built up around doing this specifically to trans people. To use a great example that's right on hand, Keffals herself has been outspoken recently about Kiwi Farms. For those of you who don't know, Kiwi Farms is a public message board that was set up specifically to target transgender people. And
What? Kiwi Farm specifically to target transgender people? I don't really like that. Yeah, guys, sorry. We're fine. Anyways, moving
harass them and dox them. Now, they do this to numerous creators online, not just trans people, but it was created to specifically target trans people. And quite literally, there have been several stories where Kiwi Farms has targeted transgender people for harassment, leading them ultimately to die by suicide due to all the harassment that they have been facing. Keffals herself has been outspoken about how she has been doxxed and targeted on those platforms as well. All of this is used to target, harass, and ultimately isolate a transgender person within these toxic spheres, leading them to feel alone and ultimately die by suicide. It is quite literally murder by suicide. And then ultimately these people will blame us, saying that we were weak or that we're threatening suicide to just try and blame them, when really this is the intention. Or they will use things like the police to try to kill trans people, or at the very least traumatize and financially hurt us, as they did with Keffals. Or at the very least try to publicly humiliate us in order to make us crawl away from the public limelight, trying to shove trans people either back into the closet or just out of public space generally, so that our voices are not heard and our harassment is suffered in silence. And this is where I want to talk a little bit about myself, because again, I'm talking about Keffals here, but I want you to know that everything that I have described.
So this is why I ultimately am turning to Jessie Jenner to present this information. Not because I think Jessie Jenner is the ultimate soapbox like trans person to go to for me, but because I'm trying to cover this issue of Keffals along with somebody else's perspective as well. Not just like one singular thing. I don't want to watch this from the perspective of somebody who doesn't know how this feels. I want to watch this from how somebody else feels. I don't know. And I am a fan of Jessie Gender. Yay. Okay.
Is not unique, and it's something that I have experienced, though obviously on a much smaller level. I've already spoken about Kiwi Farms here, and quite frankly, I have a section on Kiwi Farms where people have doxed and harassed me there as well. As some of you may...
I wonder if this is like a similar thing like lolcow, like LOL cow. It's kind of like just a site to just like slam people.
You know, if you were on the live stream when this happened, someone literally ordered a pizza to my apartment while I was on the live stream in order to, one, intimidate me and harass me, and two, to try to make sure that they had my correct address, because they would see that someone came to my house after they ordered the pizza, and then I would react to it live on a live stream. And it's gotten to the point where I literally turned off the buzzer to my apartment, and I only let people in if they know me and are able to text me ahead of time and notify me that they're coming over. And this itself is a form of harassment. There have actually been times where people called numerous pizza places around where a person's lived and sent them to that person's house to have a ton of pizza people appear at their door, and then would having to deal with a bunch of angry pizza people. But often too, like I said, this is to confirm...
That's so childish. And I'm so sad. I'm so sad that people are using this to their advantage to, like, actually bug people. I don't know. Like, at least at this point where I'm, like, 35 fucking years old, the pizza joke, the pizza prank is over, kids. The pizza prank is over, children. It's done. If you are actively, in a childish manner, trying to ruin somebody's life, it's over for you. That's your job. That's your obsession. You're done. You have no choice but to be enslaved to this trolling job. You're always going to be obsessed.
Someone's address and can lead to events like swatting. Now, for those of you worried about me, number one, I'm actually moving in the very near future, so my address won't be doxed anymore. And number two, I actually live in Seattle, which is a much more tech-savvy space than where Keffals is, and there's actually like an online registrar that you can put your address on, that when someone receives a swatting call, they can the police can sort of check it against it, and they'll still come to your house because they have to, that's part of the law, but they will be more likely to be less aggressive in those situations because they know ahead of time that they have been notified that you might be a victim of swatting. So I'm quote-unquote lucky in that aspect. And I say lucky in quotes there because honestly, quite frankly, the fact that I have to deal with any of this, or any trans person has to deal with any of this, is quite frankly frustrating, anger-inducing, and honest-to-God terrifying. And I'm just a creator who spends most of my time just ranting about Star Trek, and this is the shit that I receive. On top of this, I'm also still quote-unquote lucky because I at least have a platform to be able to talk about this stuff. I'm fairly tech-savvy and literate, so I'm able to figure out these things. I have resources that I've discovered. It wastes a lot of my time that other creators on this platform don't have to waste because of who they are. They don't have to deal with this shit that wastes our time and energy when I'd rather just create stuff and make stuff, fun stuff.
Yeah, I'd rather just create stuff and make fun stuff and focus on other shit. But you know, sometimes people are so fucking hell-bent and dragging you down that you kind of have to just address it. But then it's like, ultimately, you're going to have a life after them. They're going to run out of energy.
For all of you, but I am able to at least figure that stuff out. But there are many trans creators who are smaller than me. There are many just publicly facing trans people who don't have public platforms, who don't even wish to deal with this, but are just trans people on Twitter who will still experience all of these things just for being publicly trans. And they are left with far less tools than I do. On top of this, I even have a community of people both in real life and online that will be able to support me and give me emotional support if I am targeted for harassment. And I am lucky in that because many trans people are isolated because of a lot of these things. But if I'm being quite frank with you, I am honestly just terrified a lot of the time because of all of this. I am scared to sometimes just be a public-facing trans person because I know that this is something that might ultimately happen to me. What happens to Keffals might happen to me.
I, for one and foremost, am so happy that Jessie Gender is an open trans person, and I think she's just such a wonderful woman.
The very fact that I'm making this video right now probably makes me more likely to be targeted, and that is something that I thought deeply about before making this video, and it's quite frankly something I'm not unterrified about, if that's a word. On top of that, too, just the fact that I mentioned Kiwi Farms and mentioned that I am on Kiwi Farms might be seen by those people as an incitement for them to do something against me. I don't want that. I'm not asking for that. I'm not hoping for that. I really, really don't. But quite frankly, even saying that might make them more likely to target me anyways. But I'm just going to be honest. On top of that, and this is not to self-promote, but to honestly just be open with all of you about what I'm feeling and what I'm worrying about right now, tomorrow I'm releasing a video that I am proud of is probably the wrong word, but I put a lot of work into it along with my editor because I think it's an important one around Matt Walsh's transphobic documentary.
Okay, I swear to God, next week, next Worldview Wednesday, we are going to introduce you to Matt Walsh. I swear to God, I've been dying to cover Matt Walsh.
What is a Woman? It is the first in a series, and it's one where I'm going to be literally just breaking down the transphobia of that horrid film and that horrid man who works for the Daily Wire. And quite frankly, I am somewhat nervous that he will see the video and react to it, sending his followers to target and harass me because of the video, even though ultimately I feel that this video is a much needed resource for people to take down.
Yeah, Susan, so Matt Walsh did this weird documentary about like what is a woman, and the funny thing is it wasn't premiered really on any important platform, but it did service his own fans. So I just like Jessie Gender, she is so fucking smart. She's like, she's so lovely. She did a special on Matt Walsh, and I think we might cover it like next Worldview Wednesday. And it's like, I don't mean to like constantly cover Jessie Gender, but Jessie Gender is really like so good at presenting so many things. Like, so as a commentator, like content commentator, Jessie Gender is one of my tops.
Talk about the horridness of the film. As someone who has the ability and platform and skills to talk about that film in this way, I feel a responsibility to talk about it, but I also know that it's going to leave me in a dangerous situation. I mean, quite frankly, I even just simply tweeted about the film earlier in June, and Matt Walsh retweeted that, and a bunch of his followers came into my mentions, my comments, my DMs to try to harass me.
Oh my God, look, we literally had tater tots in our stream right now. We literally had tater tot fans in our stream tonight. Like, it's so weird. Like, I am such a lowbrow, like, low-end streamer, and we literally had Andrew Tate fans in our stream tonight.
And target me. Many people told me to 44% myself, which is a code for go kill yourself. I was called ugly, gross, nasty, simply for speaking out against a horrible man's transphobia.
Nope. Jessie Gender is so fucking beautiful.
And ultimately, I worry and am scared for the day that what happened to Keffals might happen to me or something similar. But ultimately, I've come to also learn over the past few years that I am going to stand up to these people no matter what. And while I am absolutely scared, I want to be in this fight, and I wish to fight for people that I care about. I wish to fight for people in the trans community who have to deal with all of this. And while, frankly, I don't wish I had to deal with it myself, I will try my best to fight as best I can, while also trying to protect myself and take care of myself. And don't worry, for all of you, I do have a plan in case I am targeted for this video or the Matt Walsh video. Something I really hope I don't have to deal with, but it's there if I need it. But
Next Wednesday, join me to cover Matt Walsh.
at the end of the day, I am not going to hide from these people. I am tired and done from hiding from fascists. And it's something that, thankfully, Keffals has also stated in a lot of her statements to public media around this event. While I am sorry that she is going through all of that, it is somewhat inspiring to me to see that she is still ready to be here to advocate for others and to fight for others and to say, fuck you. Because that's frankly where I'm at this point. You all know me. I am someone who likes to educate, to lead with love, to try to bring understanding.
Yep.
That's something I will always try to do. Don't worry, it's not going away. I'm not going to suddenly become the angry person online. But this video makes me angry because...
No, Jessie Gender is a lovely woman. Very rational, but frankly, this anger is justified. Fuck you. I agree.
we are at a point today where, because trans people have been so scapegoated and so targeted, that ultimately
Trans people are turned into a boogeyman. And as like a non-binary trans person, I know how that feels. I know what it's like to be turned into a boogeyman. Like you're threatening everybody's well-being and like stasis of identity, and it just doesn't even fucking matter. But I just feel like I'm not even given the time of fucking day as a non-binary trans person. Even among, regular, I hate that word. Even as, binary trans people, there's a lot of trans people that I feel like are against me. So it's just so sad. It's like, I'm not trying to threaten what you're doing.
it needs to just be like, we are just done with being treated like this by these people. And I just need to state that unequivocally, because Keffals' situation, and I've been feeling it honestly for months at this point, I just need to make very clear that, I am going to try and educate, be kind, open, and I still want to have fun, enjoy, and spread love and things that I care about, but I also need to make very, very clear that the treatment of trans people over the past few months in the United States and around the world is unacceptable.
It's unacceptable. Fuck yeah, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. No, 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 no. Immediately no.
And we need to state as such and be firm in that. And I am not even the most at risk for all of this. I am privileged in many aspects. And there are people who are much more marginalized and much more vulnerable than I am. That I am angry. So angry that they are being treated.
Righteous anger. Righteous anger. Sing it, Jesse.
The way they are being treated. By lawmakers, by people who have a platform like Matt Walsh, or Ben Shapiro, or other folks like Tucker Carlson, as well as people who literally just stand these people without any actual critical engagement and without humanizing the people that they are harassing and targeting, without actually taking the time to learn from the people that they are targeting and harassing, but instead wish to dehumanize them so much that they would try to get us killed, or traumatized, or harassed, or humiliated, or tried to be silenced, simply for speaking up.
Yep. God, I need a breath too. Anger is good. Anger can be righteous when placed in the right way. And, this is something that, I really feel the emotion behind this video because, I don't know. Jessie Gender is a more binary trans person that I don't fully rely on, but I really admire. I feel like somebody who is out there representing things in such a way where me as a non-binary trans person feel safe supporting Jessie Gender in that I feel like Jessie Gender really does care about people I feel like Jesse Gender really cares about trans people. And like I said before, like, I have come across some people in my life who are trans, but they're very transphobic. It is possible to be trans and transphobic. And I'm so grateful for people like Jessie Gender, where she is like beautifully so open and just fighting for not only non-binary trans people but women, um, and everybody else. I don't know. I just, that's why I always cover Jessie Gender material, because I think she's just very well put together. She's not Hyperion, obviously. Like, I'm Hyperion, she's not, but like, I think she's very rational.
Okay, got heated there. Sorry, I have notes that I wanted to make sure I got through with this. And I'm just speaking off the top of my head here. There's one last thing that I wish to at least mention within all of this. When I spoke about on Twitter briefly that I was going to do a video about this situation, I had a bunch of people, both good and bad faith, say, why would you make a video about Keffals? Keffals is a controversial figure. They've done this, they've done that, they've said this thing. And I want to address that. First and foremost, I wish to address the good faith stuff. There were people who were like, Jesse, I believe in you as a creator. You're someone who I look up to. But Keffals, I have problems with. And I just want you to know and do the research about her. And I totally understand that. Look, I know that every creator out there, every human being is an imperfect person. I'm sure there are things that Keffals has said that I would abjectly disagree with or say is awful. I don't know, because I haven't, watched Keffals every single day of every single moment. I generally know about her just from being in the same space, but I'm not a big Keffals fan or follower. So I understand that there might be some things that I'm unaware of that might be controversial that she said. That by speaking up for her, I am not endorsing or saying that everything she's ever done is perfect. And I say that about every single creator. There are creators who I look up to heavily, like Natalie Wynn, who many people know as ContraPoints, who I have problems with some of the things that she's done, like some of the phrasing and wording that she's done around non-binary people, as well as having platform Buck Angel. But
So I am actually a fan of ContraPoints, and ContraPoints does have some wording that I don't necessarily agree with. However, ContraPoints is such a step beyond conservative that I really enjoy her work. So I think perhaps in the future I would like to talk about ContraPoints and Buck Angel. Like I said before, there are trans people who are transphobic, and we'll leave it at that.
overall, she is someone in my community who has worked hard to try to fight back against these awful, terrible people, and she's just a human being who should be stood up for and tried to be protected as best we can, because no one deserves to go through all of this. And the same thing for Keffals. What Keffals went through is abjectly horrible and should be called out as such, regardless of who it happened to. But that being said, I do wish to point out the bad faith actors, because this is also part of this cycle of isolation. There are many bad faith actors who, whenever something like this happens to a person, will be quick to point out, like, oh, they deserved it. Like, for example, someone pointed out that Keffals in a tweet somewhere when I posted about this said that, oh, I hope this person gets swatted. Posting that thing, by the way, out of context. So I don't know who Keffals was talking about or the context of it. It could have been a joke. I really don't know. But they'll be the first to shove that out there to try to get me to be less likely to speak up for Keffals, because I'll probably see that and be like, ooh, maybe is this the person that I want to try and defend? And that's what many of these bigots try to do. Try to spread misinformation or out of context things or wrong information.
Yeah, honestly, because here's the thing. I don't care how awful of, like, so what if Keffals has said some things that are very questionable? The point is, the main focus of this is, it's not worth, one, dead naming somebody, and two, misgendering somebody. If your default is to dead name somebody because you have something against them, that's an automatic L. That's an automatic loss. You're automatic trash. You're automatic garbage. Sorry. There's so many ways to go about tackling somebody who's problematic and has problematic views than being like, oh, you're trans? Well, let me capitalize on that and, like, dead name you and misgender you. That's trash. That's trash. It's for the streets, and you're a fucking garbage person. It's, and it makes me angry, especially as a non-binary person, if you're purposefully dead naming another if you're purposefully dead naming a non-binary person, fuck you. Anyways.
About a person in order to try to isolate them and make sure that other people don't come to their defense.
Philip, oh, good to see you, Philip. Thank you so much. Yes, we got Susan, we got Philip, we got Cassie, we got Mark as our moderators. Thank you so much. And I did see that Morg came in here. Thank you so much for coming.
We saw this quite clearly, for example, with Lindsay Ellis, who went through her whole canceling phase to the point where she was harassed off of YouTube and just ultimately quit. And one of the things that she spoke about in her quitting was how a lot of her friends, people that she thought were her peers, didn't say anything during that situation because they were exactly afraid of this thing, because they saw all the misinformation and things about her, or things being dragged up for forever ago that she'd apologized for, and all of that stuff being used against her in that moment, and said, like, ooh, do I want to defend Lindsay Ellis? Do I want to actually face the harassment that she's facing? Because that's another part of it too. Even if they do speak up for Lindsay Ellis because they believe so, they may face harassment, which I've already talked about. So it just brings all this stuff to just isolate a person. And quite frankly, I don't want to be part of that. And even some of the people who are talking about Keffals in good faith may have believed some of the misinformation from bad faith actors, even though they are speaking up in good faith. It's a lot of the stuff they may be citing, maybe stuff that Keffals actually didn't say or maybe taken out of context. So it's all part of this vicious cycle. Just leave trans people isolated and lonely during the most horrific parts of their lives.
Yep.
And it's something that Zoe Quinn talked about in this book that I talked about earlier, something that resonated with me, how when Zoe Quinn was targeted, a lot of people came to her defense, and they were also then targeted and harassed as well. And this shit can ruin lives, and it's frankly abhorrent. And by the way, even if I knew what the context was for Keffals joking about someone getting swatted and it turns out to be something actually horrible that she said, I would condemn that, say that, oh, that's awful, and also say Keffals to herself should not be swatted. It's not a zero-sum game here like some people would argue, saying like, oh, she deserved it. Oh, it's okay to not speak out about her getting swatted because she said it was okay for other people to get swatted. I think it's fucked up if anyone gets swatted, because you should never place anyone, regardless of what they said elsewhere, in that horrifying and traumatic situation.
Yeah, and again, I've said this like 10 fucking times during this whole live stream. There's a difference between getting swatted and just having police knock at your door.
My assumption is that this was Keffals, 1, joking, and 2, probably saying it about a horrible transphobic person who has caused actual violence towards trans people directly or indirectly. And while I personally am not someone to joke about violence towards anyone and not going to say this was 100% right, though neither will I condemn it without full context, there is a far cry difference between joking about swatting someone causing harm to a vulnerable community and actually swatting someone and placing them in a life-threatening situation.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I ranted a lot. I had a lot to say, and hopefully this was some sort of coherent. And I just wish to say, first and foremost, my heart to Keffals, and anyone in Keffals' immediate family or relationships or friendships who have been affected by this. Sending my love to you as best I can. I have linked down below Keffals' GoFundMe for this, though I believe she's already hit her fundraising marker, but you can at least check it out if you wish to. I've also hopefully linked some further videos that I've discussed this and other people have discussed this sort of phenomenon. Again, I would recommend Crash Override. I think it's a great book on a lot of this stuff. I am now going to take a break, collect myself, go watch an episode of The Sandman, which, by the way, I don't love Netflix, but...
Sandman! Okay, so just so you all know, I am actually starting a, like I said before, Mindful Monad is mostly gearing towards live streams. However, because of the popularity of Sandman and the expression of my followers of Sandman, I am currently writing a video piece about Sandman in relation to Hyperianism, and the focus is going to be archetypes. So, if you're excited about that, just so you know, Jan Erickson is in the works for a Hyperion Sandman correlation piece.
Sandman, holy crap, they adapted my favorite comic book amazingly, so that's going to be how I'm going to try to calm down from this rant.
Yes, girl. Yes, girl. Yes, girl. Calm down from the rant. Oh, I want Jesse Jenner to be happy.
Of myself, and then I'm going to edit this video and get it up. So I'll just end on this. Take care of yourself. The Matt Walsh video is coming up on Friday. I really hope you all check it out. I hope it's a useful resource. I try to make it fun as possible.
Okay, so next Wednesday we're gonna cover Matt Walsh. Okay, so before we sign off for the night, we're going to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene and how Marjorie Taylor Greene is legitimately pushing forth a anti-trans care bill towards preventing children from receiving trans care. But it's this weird, hysteric, like, boogeyman thing where children are not being mutilated. Children are not being affected by trans care. It's literally fabricated. I don't know. Like, I'm 35. I'm just receiving trans care, and I'm understanding that it's not the kids. So I don't know what Republicans and conservative people are doing, but they really are trying to paint the narrative that children are being targeted by a trans agenda or trans healthcare, or that they even have access to that, but they don't. Because if you are not going through puberty, like, you can't really have much interaction with that. So anyways, let me go to the bathroom, take a break, and we will get into Marjorie Taylor Greene. Thank you. Okay. So, to close off tonight, I want to cover a little bit of Marjorie Taylor Greene. Cassie's like, Jen, I love you, but I'm an old lady and it's sleep time. Go to sleep. I don't know. I think Cassie's an hour ahead. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. We're fine. Good night, Cassie. We love you. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Okay. So, here we go. Marjorie Taylor Greene, fucking Congress trash, is sort of declaring war on the trans community by introducing a bill to limit trans care. Now, keep in mind that the conservative right-wing people assume that trans care includes butchering and influencing underage people and children, underage children. However, in reality, that is not the case. And this also threatens regular health care for cis people because cis people often seek gender affirming surgeries, things like that. There are cis men who need to take testosterone. There are cis men who need to take hormone blockers because they don't want their hairline to recede. There are women who get breast augmentations or breast, the heck 'em up there, honeys, because they want to be more womanly. Like, it's just so weird that these certain types of healthcare things are only limited to trans people when ultimately they also affect regular people as well. So Marjorie Taylor Greene officially declares war on the trans community. Of course, because, lasers, Jewish lasers from the moon are not enough. Yeah. Yep. Here I am speaking. You're fine. So, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene introduced a bill in Congress on Friday that would ban gender-affirming care for transgender minors across the country. It's the most sweeping and draconian piece of legislation conjured by an ever more radicalized and violent anti-trans movement. Yes. While the bill supports only 14 Republican co-sponsors, its passage would likely become a priority if the GOP if the GOP were to retake Congress this fall. There has been some serious fuckery going on politically lately. And I don't mean that in the sense where I'm just becoming aware of the fuckery in the government recently. I'm saying, like, the last, since the pandemic, the government has been really highlighted as the fuckery all along. So, it's interesting that things that you would think are very reasonable and that would never be touched, such as Roe versus Wade, wouldn't be overturned. But lo and behold, that shit is overturned. And if that is possible at this moment in time, think about what else could be possible to be overturned. Now that I've covered this Jessie gender issue and other trans women's issues, I'm telling you that trans women and other trans people, even beyond that, can be made as a boogeyman. I hope you understand the severity of the message that I'm trying to convey to you. Just how easy it is for people to make a boogeyman out of somebody just because they don't understand them. They don't understand them, and they're not secure about themselves enough to realize that other people's existences don't affect them. It's really concerning when there are people out there in the world who are genuinely threatened so much and so far as to jeopardize the safety and the lives of other people just to feel more secure, even when they're not actually being threatened. And this is the point where I'm very passionate about Hyperianism, where I want to constantly strive to examine thoughts and feelings and ideologies that pertain to modern day issues, so that I can reach the most rational view of things, because that's what it means to be Hyperion, is to be hyper rational and to be educated and aware that my personal perspective of things isn't the end all and be all of things. So anyways, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene introduced a bill in Congress on Friday that would ban gender-affirming care for transgender minors by an ever more radicalized and violent anti-trans movement. While the bill supports only 14 Republican co-sponsors, its passage would likely become a priority if the GOP were to retake Congress this fall. Since 2020 presidential election, reactionary forces in the U.S. have increasingly become more focused on trans issues. Isn't that interesting? Why is it since 2020 that trans issues have been particularly a big focus? Why? There's so many things to scapegoat and burn an effigy. Why trans people? We're just so minute. Sorry, rant. Particularly the issues concerning trans children. Physicians and staff members at Boston Children's Hospital were threatened last week by a far-right, gender-critical internet mob that spreads lies. and they spread lies about the facility's work with transgender adolescents. Young children that are transgender don't have a lot to work with when it comes to physical mitigation. So it's really interesting that right-wing propaganda is focusing on children supposedly being mutilated when that's not the case. There is no cases of that. Anyways, the harassment campaign was kicked off by Chaya, some name I can't pronounce, who runs the anti-LGBTQ social media accounts, Libs of TikTok, along with the anti-abortion and anti-LGBTQ media personality Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh is coming up again. I swear to God, honeys, we are covering this next week. Next Wednesday is Matt Walsh. I swear to God, we are going to laser focus our gaze on Matt Walsh next week. So anyways, hospitals are supposedly performing hysterectomies on children. No, nobody's doing that. Nobody is doing that. The hospital was forced to hire extra security as administrators warned its staff of violent threats. Oh, that's awful. The hospital also released a statement explaining that no hysterectomies or genital surgical procedures are performed at the hospital on people under the age of 18. That is the point. That's the point I'm trying to make. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is trying to propose a bill against these supposed practices that frankly just aren't happening at all. At all. At all. Nobody is performing a hysterectomy on a child. Nobody's doing that. The hospital was forced to hire extra security as administrators warned its staff of violent threats. The hospital also released a statement explaining that under the age of 18. Individual doctors who had appeared in several videos on the hospital's YouTube page were also targeted, with online extremists threatening to execute any staff members involved in transgender care. Those videos have now been removed. If you are going to dedicate your life and your passions to violently threatening somebody, even as far as to take them down, quote unquote, like you think you're a vigilante, you think you're awesome, smart, and cool, and you're gonna take down a villain on the internet, it's not gonna happen. It's not going to happen. Why? Because you're insane. Because you don't have anything to go off of. And anybody who targets trans people in this sense, or anybody else in this sense, is just feeding off of violent and just irrational rhetoric.
This phone belonged to a kid who went missing down here 15 years ago.
Do you ever feel like something from the past is missing from your future?
I'm gonna get some answers.
Stop it.
Boss Boston Children's Hospital is facing a barrage of threats tonight over a false social media post. A far-right social media account attacked the hospital's gender-affirming healthcare, falsely claiming it performs hysterectomies on minors. Well, for fact's sake, the American Academy of Pediatrics describes gender-affirming care for children as the integration of medical, mental health, and social services. But the Boston Hospital denies performing gender-affirming surgery on any patient younger than 18. That still has not stopped the dangerous threats and disinformation. Here's what one doctor at another...
So here's the thing. Marjorie Taylor Greene is really an advocate against gender-affirming care. The very phrase gender-affirming care does not necessarily mean performing surgeries on children. It can literally just be something as simple as just intervention, psychological intervention. This is what I mean about trans people being targeted and vilified as something they're not.
Boston Hospital had to say about it.
It's been very hard for me over the years to care for LGBTQ youth and engage in, what is really the standard of care, evidence-based treatment, and then to have people, throw terms around like pedophile or child abuser. And now I see this happening to my colleagues, and it's really heartbreaking to watch happen.
Heartbreaking and dangerous. Let's bring in Tracy Walder, former CIA officer and FBI agent. She's the author of the book, The Unexpected Spy. Tracy, this is not an isolated incident. What on earth is working these people up to such a frenzy that they'd want to threaten a children's hospital over a social post?
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Honestly, what is working people up in such a frenzy to be so violent towards trans people?
I mean, I think it is sort of the intersection of a bunch of different things. I think you have COVID exacerbated people's access to online and the time that people spent online. And through those online channels, far right, far left, whatever, they kind of went further down the rabbit hole. But I think what's also really important, we talk about the influence of social media and these folks becoming radicalized, but we really don't talk about the factors that really get them to this point, that get them to become radicalized. And really the biggest factor.
Dude, I never honestly, I really did have some sort of idea how influential social media was growing up. Obviously, I had some clue. But honestly, I never had as much clue as I have now since the pandemic as far as how much influence social media has in political issues. It's so scary. It's so scary. It's so fucking scary out there. I watched before my eyes, and I think this is where I started becoming interested in political issues, how politicized the mask issue was. Simply putting a mask over your face so that you don't cough your fucking particles on somebody else. Suddenly that's a threat to freedom. What? That blew my mind. And I think this is where I started becoming interested in political issues. And so, like I said, it's only been the last sort of 2 years that I've wanted to talk about this sort of stuff.
Is this quest for significance. So a lot of these folks felt like their lives don't matter. They didn't have an impact in what they were doing. And they found a sense of purpose in these actions. And then I think the second kind of factor is the permission to use violence. We're hearing this whole discussion about this pending civil war and to take up arms. And they're feeling like they have the permission to do that. And then, finally, we're looking at community or people that kind of support that use of violence. And, we saw Senator Grassley talking about the hiring of the 87,000 IRS agents and to, take up arms. They're going to come at you with AR-15s. And I think this is really causing this pervasive amount of threats, all different venues.
But no one gave this movement permission to be violent. Just ask the insurrectionists. Would you then call this, what we're seeing, domestic terrorism, a threat of domestic terrorism?
So in my personal opinion, I do believe that they are domestic terrorists. Really, I worked at the CIA, I worked at the FBI, and, I spent a lot of time, my background was in working counterterrorism. And the reality is everyone is radicalized for the most part in the same way. It doesn't matter what you believe, who you are, what your gender is, and what your religion is. And really, if we look up what domestic terrorism is, it's violent criminal acts committed by individuals and groups to really further ideological goals. And that's what's going on here. They have ideological goals, whether it's the children's hospitals, whether it's abortion clinics, whether it's 1-6. These are ideological goals that stem from politics, religion, and social beliefs.
They do stem from politics. And when you go back down the path, they stem from right-wing media and the GOP. Former CIA Director Michael Hayden just yesterday agreed online that today's Republican Party is the most dangerous political force he has ever seen. Do you agree with that? I mean, that's a heavy statement from the former head of the CIA.
So I actually do agree with that. I've had a lot of time to really kind of reflect on that. I don't want to, use that lightly in terms of how I feel. But the thing is when we see senators, so, sitting members that were elected to these offices really encourage these conspiracy theories, I think that's where we've seen this shift. The reality is the deep state has existed since the formation, really, of our country. And these ideas have existed, but they've always been on the fringes. But now we have this, I guess, mainstream validation of them really solely by the Republican Party. And I have to agree with General Hayden here.
So if you're law enforcement right now, how difficult is it to monitor and track these threats? They're coming from everywhere. They're based on lies, and they could pop up in any given place. I mean, a children's hospital based on a social media post?
So, you're absolutely right. I think it's incredibly difficult. And this sounds really disconcerting, but it's almost impossible to monitor all of these. It's almost like playing a game of whack-a-mole. You shut down one site. I saw that Libs of TikTok their account was suspended on Facebook today, but you shut that down, and then they just find another platform to be on. And so the reality is we can only track what we know. And so there's so many websites out there that we just...
Yeah, like I said before with the Andrew Tate thing, even though one misogynist icon is taken down, another one will take its place. It's really unfortunate.
Don't know exists. And, unless it's really brought to the attention of law enforcement, it becomes extremely difficult to track that.
It is a difficult time to be in law enforcement, that is for sure. Tracy Walder, thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Give your business.
No. Anyways. So we've seen this type of movement before. Violent mobs protesting medical providers and conservative politicians drafting more and more restrictive laws to satisfy an insatiable base closely resembling to the anti-abortion movement. Though it didn't have the hypercharged propaganda playground of social media in its early days. The anti-abortion movement has always depended on the dual threat of the conservative legislature and the mob. That movement led to abortion foes murdering doctors and shooting up or burning down clinics. And as we know now, it triumphed legislatively when the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade this year. Threatening hospitals is a part of a growing and extremely violent cultural backlash to treatment of transgender youths in the U.S. and the United Kingdom, about which I have written here before. Several weeks ago, trans advocate and YouTuber Clara Sarantini, known as online as Keffals, was doxxed and swatted in her own home when someone impersonating her wrote emails to local police and government officials threatening violence and claiming she murdered her mother. This whole article that we're reading right now, like all of this that we're watching irrational people and irrational ideas being executed and put out there as if it's factual. Genuine people trying to live out their lives are getting swatted simply because they are openly trans. I honestly don't give a shit what controversy Keffals is in. The fact that she was targeted specifically because she was trans and mistreated specifically because she is trans doesn't settle right with me. So ultimately, Marjorie Taylor Greene right now is trying to pass a bill to end trans care or gender affirming care for minors. Now, I want to be very fucking clear that gender affirming care for minors does not equate to specifically surgical stuff. It's not surgery. It's not, oh, gender affirming care is hysterectomies or anything else like that. Gender affirming care is so much beyond simple surgeries. It's psychological care. It's beyond that. Let me see. So one thing I think is under a lot of scrutiny in gender affirming care for youth is the use of puberty blockers, which there is a lot of people throwing out false studies out there that this damages people's bodies in the long run. Which is false. I don't know. For example, there's plenty of cis men that use puberty blockers, for example, to stop the production of testosterone to prevent their hairline from receding. Like, like the use of puberty blockers is not just restricted to people who are receiving gender affirming care, even if they're minors or not. So it's a little weird. But I want to dive into this further. I think I'm running out of juice, honestly. Like, I love you all, but like I think I've hit my max for live streaming tonight. So anyways, let's see. Big face. Anyways, thank you all for joining me tonight on Worldview Wednesdays. We do not actually have anything planned for Friday, but there is always room to suggest what we view on Fridays, especially if you become a patron at patreon.com/Jan Erickson Official. When you become a Patreon of mine, you can get instant access to my Discord server, and through the Discord server, you can suggest content for me to review during live streams, and much more. So, good night, Elise. Thank you so much, Elise, for coming. I really appreciate that. And thank you, Paul Cherry. And thank you, Mark Vanderpool, for coming. I really appreciate your time. There was a lot of interesting topics tonight. A lot of interesting topics about misogyny and about mistreatment of trans people. I want to dive into this further, I think. Anyways. Thank you so much, Laura, for coming. I really appreciate your presence. Lisa, thank you so much for coming. Light Remus, thank you so much for coming. Light Remus says, sorry about my angst. I mean, I guess. I don't know. Yes. Well, here's the thing. Recently I've been trying to just simply introduce things to you all in my live streams because I want to regularly address them in the future as events unfold. Because I feel like a lot of these characters like Andrew Tate, Matt Walsh, Jordan Peterson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, things like that, you know, they're still characters in this world, and they're continuing on with their weird ideologies. So like, I want to first and foremost introduce these characters to you, and then from here on, like, just continue to like update about them. And yes, thank you so much to our mods, Susan, Mark, Cassie, Jewel, thank you so much. Jewel, you're so nice. And, Philip, thank you so much for coming. Anyways, we're gonna go live Friday. Mindful Monad goes live 3 days a week. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Friday night is coming up. Friday nights are more leisurely. They're a little bit more fun. Comedic relief. Oh my god. Can I say that any more fucked up? Comedic relief is Friday nights. So please join us Friday night. We shall cover something fun. Now, last week we covered Bible Man. I don't know if we want to do another episode of Bible Man, or like, I think I really want to like dive into some like weird ass cringy religious TikToks. We'll see. We'll find something. We'll find something. Anyways. Good night, everyone. Take care. Have a good weekend. Or wait, no. It's not the weekend! Have a good Thursday. We'll see you Friday. We'll see you Friday. We'll see you Friday. Good night, everybody. It's Worldview Wednesday, and we're just ending. Okay, no, this is bad. This is bad. Cut. All right, goodbye, everybody.